This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. It's time for me to put my Wall Street thinking cap back on and talk about a day looming on the calendar for Donald Trump and small retail investors on Wall Street alike. That's the 19th of September. That's when Donald Trump and over 100 early investors in his Truth Social Trump media company have the right to start selling their shares. There was a 6-month, what we call lockup period, which ensures that founders and people like Donald Trump don't immediately, after getting shares in a company they didn't really earn, they were just given them for no money, that they don't crush immediately the investing public by selling into the wind, driving down the share price. But now Donald Trump is on the horns of a dilemma, because maybe 4 or 5 months ago, back in March, when the stock was trading at an all-time high of $62 and $63 a share, having started at $10 a share, he was sitting there salivating and rubbing his hands like Scrooge McDuck or the Monopoly guy, saying, "Oh, I'm worth $6 billion. I can't wait to get to September." I mean, we talked about it here on Legal AF and on the MeidasTouch network, that he had Donald Trump, so much financial pressure on him, such a financial house of cards, looking at a $500 million New York civil fraud judgment against him, $100 billion that he now owes to E. Jean Carroll alone. The convictions that have been rolling in at a regular pace against him, that was, and a financial monitor sitting over all of his financial affairs, making it almost impossible for him to make new money unless he's selling sneakers out of a van, or suits off his back, or trading cards, or books, or Bibles. You fill in the blank. We're running out of things for him to do. Is this a flea market, or is this a presidential candidate that's allegedly some sort of business brain trust? Well, now he's on the horns of a dilemma, because the stock is no longer at $62 and $64. He's no longer worth $6 billion on paper. He's now down to $2 billion on paper, because the stock is plummeting. It is falling like a rock, and even faster. It is now below $20 a share. It's below $18 a share. It's heading towards $15. Forget that. It's heading back to $10 a share, meaning his worth, even on paper, is down to just $2 billion. I say $2 billion because he lost $4 billion. Poof, in 6 months. Because why? Because that company is ephemeral. It is in the ether. It has no business model. It's not that it has a burn rate of expenses that'll eventually be able to overcome, like Amazon. Amazon lost money for years until it became the behemoth that it is, and a multi-trillion-dollar company. But that's not this. Not when you have less than 4 million people that even pay attention on a monthly basis to your platform, which is nothing at all. It's 1/10 the size of Legal AF, if you can believe it, on a monthly basis. Not when you have no other business fundamentals. Not when your only asset is Donald Trump, an asset that they've already disclosed on all of their SEC Securities and Exchange filings as being, if anything happens to the boss, our company has no other asset. And he's busy selling himself everywhere but on Truth Social. Bibles, trading cards, books, suits off his back, sneakers. That has nothing to do with Truth Social. He's making all this money off book. And now he's returned to X and embraced in a bromance Elon Musk, his new future head of government efficiency, or whatever the heck that's supposed to be. So he's trading away. He's trading away from his core business and competing, if you will, with the revenue of his own business. They should sign him up to a non-compete. That's what I would do if it was my only asset. I would have an exclusivity contract and a non-compete to make sure he only makes money for the public company that's supported by, the retail investing community. And now, as I said 5 months ago, the small band of happy warriors who are MAGA, who are trying to use their stock purchases to prop up a failing Donald Trump and his campaign, are being overwhelmed by normal investors, short sellers, and others who look at the business fundamentals and say there's no fundamentals here. There's no economics here. There's no sales here. There's no ad dollars. Nobody wants to advertise on Truth Social. I mean, some people get upset sometimes in the MeidasTouch network because we have pro-democracy sponsors that advertise on our network and on our podcast and our content. Like, oh, there's so many ads. You want no ads? Go over to Truth Social. You'll find no content, but you'll find no ads as well. That's not a business model. That's not sustainable. And now Donald Trump, here's the horns of a dilemma. Here's the crossroads moment. If he has one of 3 or 4 things to do, and he's going to have to disclose it this week in a filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission. We call it a Form 4 filing. He's got to tell the investing world what is he doing with his shares. He can't leave it to whim. The investing market and community and mom and pop who are investing have to know what he's doing with his stock. So he has to disclose it. Again, as I said earlier on Legal AF, Donald Trump will rue the day he went public because now he's fully regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission in a way he never was in his private family-owned company, Trump Organization. Have you heard that the flavored air category is quickly becoming the leading alternative to vaping and smoking? It's a whole new movement towards better habits, led by the sponsor of today's video, Fume. Fume is an award-winning flavored air device, and flavored air isn't like vaping. If vapor was compared to sticky soda, Fume cores are closer to herbal teas. Fume has lots of delicious flavors to choose from, like crisp mint and orange vanilla. With flavored air, you can satisfy your oral fixation through a passive diffusion system that utilizes no electronics, vapor, or combustion. Instead, Fume draws flavor to your mouth. Fume fills the void ditching a bad habit can leave. There's no vapor, and you can use it anywhere. There's no nicotine, and it's not addictive. The non-toxic flavors are a guilt-free alternative. Fume doesn't use any batteries, so you'll never need to charge it. The design is super sleek, it looks awesome, and you can truly feel the weighted, high-quality design. I mean, one of the fun things about Fume is that it's made to fidget with and calms anxiety with magnets, snaps, and clicks. Fume continuously invests in third-party studies to ensure the safety of their products. My favorite Fume flavor is the orange vanilla. It's just as delicious as it sounds. And look, if you're trying to kick your bad habit, I couldn't recommend Fume enough. Fume has served over 300,000 customers, and you can be the next success story. For a limited time, use my code LEGALAF to get a free gift with your Journey Pack. Head to tryfume.com. That's TRYFUM.com and use code LEGALAF or scan the QR code on the screen to get a free gift with your order today. Now, here's what he's got to decide. If he sells any portion or any of the other 100 insiders sell any portion, large portion of the shares, the stock they're going to be trading into a loss as the shares continue to drop from $18 or $17 a share and crash to 10. I mean, if he dumped the whole of his 115 million shares representing 57% of the company all over a course of a week or a month or 3 months or 6 months, he'd crash that stock in a heartbeat. He'd make money. Because even at $10 a share, he has 115 million shares. Do the math. It's over $1 billion. But you and me get crushed. Well, not me, because I wouldn't invest in that company, but others that support MAGA are gonna get crushed. Does he want to do that? So one, how much does he sell off? How much do the others sell off? They're not restricted anymore. They're not restrained. There's no lockup period. There's no limit on their ability to sell their shares, and some of them are going to either ride it or not ride it. I assure you, there are conversations going on right now. I'm not privy to them, but having worked in this world before, I'll tell you, there are conversations going on right now with Donald Trump, his investment bankers, brokers, investors, his investors, all at the top line about what to do with Donald Trump shares, how much of them to sell and how to sell it. So one is how much to sell. He's going to sell part of it. Two, he can take a loan out against it. He can get some sucker to lend him money who thinks that's a good bet. I'm sure at an exorbitant interest rate, given Donald Trump's past history of financial failings. I don't know what that interest rate would be, 8, 9, 10, 15, 18%. He could take a loan out so he gets money because he needs money. Have I said that before on my hot takes? He's pulling out his pockets. He's going to be left wearing a barrel and suspenders soon. He doesn't have any money. How many trading cards can he sell? How many Bibles can a person actually sell in a year? It's not like Apple coming out with a new iPhone and a new battery and a new plug to make more money and accessories. It's Donald Trump. He's 80 years old. He can barely put a sentence together. Okay. So, his last book that he sold that he made, I don't know, $7 million on he didn't even write it. I mean, he doesn't write any of his own books, but the last book was literally people's letters to Donald Trump. It was other people writing letters. He slapped it together in a book and sold it. Not sustainable. So he can take out a loan. He can sell shares. What else he can do? He can try to limit the downward pressure on the stock price by selling a block of shares, a large block of shares to one buyer. Usually the one buyer is a fund of some sort, an institutional investor or counterparty on the other side. You know, you can name if I swung something here, a necklace here, I would hit, or a boomerang. In my neighborhood, I would hit all of the players in that world. I won't name them. You can think who they are. Blackstone. There's a number of other ones. You know, Fortress. There's a bunch of funds that are also lean Republican, as most of Wall Street does, that could step in and bail out. It would be a Donald Trump bailout. It would be the bailout he didn't want to do or wasn't in favor of for the auto workers, the bailout he wasn't in favor of for the American people after COVID. He'll get a bailout. Somebody will buy, I don't know, $500 million, let's say, worth of his stock. Let's just pick a round number. And they will buy that, put that money in his pocket, and the stock price will take a hit, but not as big as if he sold $500 million free floating units out into the marketplace. So he could find a buyer. And he's tied into Wall Street. I won't go over the details, but you can look up who's the head of his transition committee, who's very tied into Wall Street, and you could sort of figure out in 3 nanoseconds who could broker such a deal. Okay, that could happen. A buyer could buy it. A lender could lend on it. Or he sells it in the open market, or he just holds the stock. I don't see a world in which Donald Trump doesn't try to sell, loan, borrow against, and or sell a block of his shares. I just don't see it. He needs the money too badly. I've said in prior hot takes and on Legal AF, he is not making any new dollars. The Trump machine of making money has ground to a halt. He's living off of old deals, old real estate investments, old licensing deals, everything old. Nobody in the States wants his name on any project. He hasn't built a new building since we started Legal AF 4 years ago. He's just living off of royalties and license fees and revenue from his golf courses. I mean, that's nice. I mean, it's not like I fault him necessarily for having revenue. It's just that his expenses are so much larger than that. And look at all the families he's feeding. Don Jr. and Eric and the Guilfoyle person and Ivanka and Kushner and himself. I mean, it's a lot of mouths. Melania. I mean, her wardrobe budget alone, I'm sure, is astronomical. And then you've got the attorney's fees. When he's not busy grifting, right now he can't grift as much for his attorney's fees. He's trying to raise money to win the presidency. And he's getting beat 4-1 by Kamala Harris. So what I'm trying to say is he needs the money. He's going to sell it. But if he sells too much, he crashes the stock and then we're off and running. And now he's got to make a decision just 2 days after the debate about what he's going to do. Kamala Harris is smart. We'll watch her closely. She's going to raise the issue during the debate. Be smart too. It's part of a topic that I think she should raise about him being fiscally irresponsible, both in his own personal life. He's a business fraud. He's a terrible steward of the economy, of the U.S. economy, let alone his own checkbook. And that's something people should consider. So they don't think that 2016 was such a great period of time in our American economic history when it was not. The debt through the roof, the economy on the skids. The only thing, I get it. The price of things that matter to people at the gas pump and the supermarket are higher now than then. I get that. But they are trending down in the right direction, and most of it is post-COVID. So we're going to continue to follow what happens with Truth Social and Trump media, why they don't have an exclusivity agreement, why they don't have a non-compete agreement for Donald Trump, their only asset, why they let him do all these deals on the side that don't bring in revenue to the company that has public investors and public shareholders, and who on Wall Street is going to bail out Donald Trump, brokering a deal for either a block sale of that stock, a loan, or to sell off his shares over time to try to not drive a stake or a silver bullet into this entity, whose stock price is in free fall. right? And that has been his cash cow. That is what he's been banking on since day one. That would bail him out ultimately. And he's watching that poof go up in smoke. We'll continue to follow it on Legal AF and on the MeidasTouch Network. Follow me, Michael Popok, on all things social media. And my hot take videos you can find right here on the MeidasTouch Network. Slide over to playlists on the MeidasTouch Network. Look for Michael Popok and you'll see 1,500 of my hot takes right there. Find out every Wednesday and Saturday. Find out what 40 million people a month already know, that Legal AF is the home of law and politics and analysis and commentary on the YouTube dial. Wednesdays and Saturdays, and then on audio podcast platforms of your choice. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting. Heary, heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know, and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.